All right, let's go back one to the 44th president, Barack Obama, and take a look at how the financial cycles affected his campaigns, and then kind of compare that to the current cycles and the current campaigns for the president now. This is Brian Lewis with MMT Investing. Things just changed. So Barack Obama was campaigning like right in the housing crash financial crisis, and that is a super easy time to be like, choose me to to get out of this crisis. So he had a change campaign, change the world. It was like the sun rising over a new American flag horizon, and he won that, and then on the re-election, he's right in the middle of a bull market, so it's pretty easy to just be like, I'm doing a good job, re-elect me. So, I mean, that's kind of how the cycles lined up with his elections. And I was getting into politics right around that time because I lost my house and all of my money in the financial crisis and the housing crash, and that's when I got into macroeconomics. So, I mean, my house went from 220,000 to 120,000 in a hurry. Florida got hit by that crash really hard. I was in Clearwater, Florida, and I joined the Barack Obama change campaign, and I did some door knocking and stuff like that and campaigning. And then after he got in, I noticed that it didn't change anything. Like the foreign policy is the same, the economic policies are the same. The banking system's the same. Everything's the same. And then I started following Ron Paul and the libertarian movement coming into that campaign, and I was like, oh, okay, Ron Paul is like knows what's going on. He's telling the truth about everything. Like, this is really cool. This isn't the same stuff. So, I mean, Ron Paul does that. He just points out like the parties are the same. That we don't even really have two parties. We just have like our financial system and our foreign policy. That's what America does. It doesn't matter which president or which party. And he just came out with the end of the Fed. Like, just understand this financial system. Understand what the Fed is. Understand that we're printing money. So I got super into Austrian economics and the libertarian movement. And I was in Sacramento during the Ron Paul campaign. So I joined that group for the Ron Paul and then started doing the campaigning for them. And I became one of the lead community organizers with the group in District 6 Sacramento. And then and they chose me for the delegate for the presidential election for Ron Paul. So I was a delegate for Ron Paul in the presidential election, and helped organize the rallies that he did in California. And then I went to the Republican National Convention in Florida, which was near my dad's house, and that was that was really cool. And everybody knows what the Fed is now. Like, nobody was talking about the Fed, during like the financial crisis or during the bull market. And then after that huge Ron Paul campaign, that was the whole point, was just to make sure everybody knew what the system was, what the world currency is, what the world financial system is, what the Fed is, what money printing is, like how these bubbles form. And and you can thank Ron Paul for that. Like, he says he's not a leader of the movement, but he is definitely not in terms of like actually organizing people or something like that, but as far as like a philosophical leader, like, absolutely. And and now everybody knows what the Fed is. Everyone's talking about the Fed blowing up the stock market and this and that, and Trump's talking all about the Fed. The president's never talked about the Fed before. And then so I don't know where I'm going with this. So I guess Barack Obama, smash that like button right now, please, to help me out with the YouTube algorithm. So I guess just now I'm not exactly Austrian or libertarian or even political now. Right now I'm just analyzing the financial system, analyzing the cycles, and you can derive mathematical kind of models based on the expansion of the monetary system. So that's what I'm working on now, and just trying to invest in the new environment that we have now, because things did just change. They really did. We have completely different fundamentals for what's going on right now. And as I was saying in a previous video, the cycles that are happening right now is we have a credit contraction down cycle that we're in right now, which is like 3 or 4 months, and then we're going to get a growth expansion cycle. So we're going to get a bottom soon in another month or so, and then we're going to get an expansion up, and then we get like a stagflation cycle. It looks like we're going to get a stagflation cycle after that, which will be an expansion, so you get a little up but negative growth, so then it's going to fall down. And that's what we're going to get running into this presidential election. And so I think we're going to be pretty much on top of a bull trap right around election time. And that's the bear case. If this is a long-term bear market setup, which it looks like it will be, then that should be a bull trap in the longer-term bear market right there. If it's a bull market, then it'll be up anyways at that point. And I was saying that Trump should be able to easily win this election because it's going to be at this high point in the market, and everyone's going to be super bullish and excited about the economy. I mean, relative to what's going on now. But also Trump was in office during this crash. So it's not going to be quite that easy. Like, Biden can easily just blame him for this crash and run on that kind of change campaign and say that he's going to fix the stock market and everything. And then Trump can pretty easily just like blame the Fed and blame the health situation for everything, and then just say like, look, everything's great now. So I was saying in the last video that Trump is in a good position to win outright based on the cycle and where the economy is, but he did oversee the whole crash too. So that makes it more difficult to pick who's going to be ahead. But I still think Trump has an advantage based on the cycles. And if we're going to be in an up spot, that's a good spot for the incumbent to campaign on, like, look, we're doing good, than it is for the other guy to come in and say that we need change. So I still think Trump has an advantage in this election. And this is not political advice or financial advice. And I don't care who people vote for with regards to the stock market, because the president doesn't have control over the stock market. And the Fed really doesn't either. Like, the monetary expansion is a pattern that sort of just happens, and the Fed doesn't decide the expansion or the contraction. They react to it and they try to stabilize it. And the president definitely doesn't control it. They just tweet about it. So that's why I keep saying, like, the president doesn't matter with regards to the stock market. And the Fed has way, way less control than people think they do. I mean, they are a part of the system, but they're not deciding, like, okay, like, let's expand it right now. Because if they wanted to expand it right now, then everything that they've been doing would have stopped this crash. And it's not stopping it. Like, this is a cycle, and it's going to happen, and the Fed's not going to stop it. And that's the outlook for the currency system and the Fed and the presidential election coming up. And a quick peek back at Barack Obama changing the world, and Ron Paul telling everybody what the Fed is, and kind of my political history a little bit, and me not really caring about politics or the election. I actually didn't even have Trump's like Twitter feed or anything like that this whole presidency. I just added it recently just so I could kind of talk about it on this channel. And he's something. He is definitely something. And I think he has an advantage in this election from where we're going to be in the credit cycle going into the election. That is the final word.